Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Danny Show. I'm your host, Daniel Cody, giving you commentary and reviews on all things wrestling. Thank you guys so much for joining. Tonight, as you can see, I did a little rearrangement, and I'm going to tell you why he's here in just a minute. But tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw from Alabama was a good one. There was a lot of comedic action. I saw some things that I thought was very comedic, including watching the women's tag team match between Raquel and Roxanne versus the Kabuki Warriors, with Simp 19 Dom being disruptive for the women. Now, I must say the commentary was hilarious because everyone is wondering, will Dominic, or should I say Simp 19 Dom, stay patient and faithful to Liv Morgan? Due to the fact that Liv Morgan and Dominic started last year when Dominic was already in a relationship with Rhea Ripley. You see, folks, when your relationship is built on infidelity, you can't build something wholesome on sinful roots. You can't do it. But in any event, moving forward, speaking of deep spiritual stuff, let me say congratulations, Roxanne and Raquel. They retained. Thanks in most part to Dominic. Dominic was, and the AJ Styles Dominic angle backstage was hilarious because Adam Pearce informed Dominic that we'll be doing a scan next week to see if he's clear. While all of this is happening, AJ Styles is seen praying. This segment was hilarious to me. What's more hilarious about it, what makes it so hilarious is the fact that there was a moment where both men was like, God, don't let them do this to me. Stop praying, AJ. AJ's like, don't listen to him, God. What's so funny is both of them were arguing to God like they were telling on each other to the parent or the principal. And what's interesting about this is AJ Styles is actually a man of faith in real life and also from Atlanta. Simp 19 Dom, his father, Rey Mysterio, is somewhat of a guy of faith, but his uncle Eddie, we all know, was a strong man of faith, considering the fact that he used his faith before he passed to overcome certain addictions. And man, him passing away so soon really sucks to this day. But I thought that segment was absolutely hilarious. But we opened up the show with a lot of exciting news. We opened up the show, however, I wanted to get the humor out of the way. We opened up the show with Naomi celebrating, not with the fans necessarily, because she's still heel. And Naomi, for the foreseeable future, will be on Raw as she is the Women's World Champion. And she's over SmackDown. So, with that being said, she already has big business because there is a disruption with Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, who both made their presence known and both made it perfectly clear that they want a rematch. And they're going to get it because it was announced at the beginning of the show, the first 10 minutes, that we're going to get a female triple threat match. 2025 will be remembered as the year of the triple threats. Roman versus Punk versus Seth. Io versus Rhea versus Bianca. Oba versus Javon versus Trick. Becky versus Bayley versus Valkyra. We've had a lot of triple threats this year, and we're going to get more triple threats. This is the year of the threesomes, I just got to say, for humor. Speaking of female threesomes, Bayley and Lara Valkyra went one-on-one in a 2 out of 3 falls match, with both women getting a score. The first 2 falls, both women scored respectfully with roll-ups. However, after some competition near the end at round 3, fight. For all of us who grew up playing Tekken, I hope I pronounced that correctly. But at round three, it was Bailey who won. No, it was Valkyra, excuse me, who won this match and will be going on to face Becky Lynch at SummerSlam. So, what happens next for Bailey? I don't know. But I do know one thing: Kofi and Xavier are still grieving, but they have a chance of redemption next week. The Judgment Day still plays video games, which is pretty cool. But tonight, we had the gauntlet match. After Cross, by the way, cut a promo about Sami Zayn and telling the truth. Cross is trying to be the next Bray Wyatt versus John Cena angle with all this truth and lies stuff. In small but awesome news, we have Nikki Bella in action against what's Chelsea Green. And by the way, I don't care what the toxic comic section of YouTube says. I enjoyed seeing Nikki in action tonight. Congratulations on the victory. I also like the fact that after the Secret Harvest and Chelsea decided to act like sore losers, Stephanie Vakir, or as Nikki called her, Stephanie Vacque, decided to come out to the aid of Nikki Bella. And of course, with that being said, they stood together, and that was an awesome segment. I really enjoyed that. I also, with that being said, I believe I covered everything except the main event. So let's get into this awesome main event. After that is, Gunter came out and boasted a little bit about Goldberg defeating Goldberg in his last match. By the way, why did NBC cut Goldberg off so quickly before we could get a chance to finish? Darn you, NBC. But Gunter came out and talked. We had Braun Breaker coming out, getting in the face of Gunter, giving us a good tease, by the way. That would make a great match. So in the end, we had Braun Breaker facing off against Penta, eliminated Penta successfully. Then after that, he went up against LA Knight, who was already not 100%, but took him down successfully. Then we had him go up against, who was Jay Uso. Thanks to Bronson Reed, Jay was eliminated. We almost thought Braun Breaker was going to run the gauntlet with him going lastly against CM Punk right there. However, Jay was not going to let that slide, so Jay came out and took out Bronson Reed, giving CM Punk and Braun Breaker a chance to fight it out. Punk goes on to face Gunter. But what's awesome about this is the fight between Paul Heyman, the Oracle now. One minute he's an advocate, the next minute he's a wise man, now he's an oracle. At this stage in his life, how many nicknames does Paul Heyman need? But in an unexpected plot twist, we got Roman Reigns back. I went crazy when he returned. And by the grace of Almighty, I still have my voice intact because I went nuts, much like the crowd, excuse me. Much like the crowd, I went crazy when Roman Reigns returned. And I was not expecting that at all. And I must say thank you, WWE, and thank you, social media, even though I try to stay away from certain news platforms. Thank you, social media, for not ruining it for us, because sometimes people will ruin things with rumors that we saw Roman Reigns in Alabama. I'm really glad no one did that, because that makes it extra fun that Roman Reigns was here and it was unexpected. So I'm very thankful that social media acted and behaved themselves long enough for us to have some fun in the end of the Monday Night Raw show. But with CM Punk going on to face Gunter, I don't know what happens here. I know Gunter versus Punk will make a great match. Of course, the only thing is with Seth Rollins being out with this injury, I don't know how long this injury will affect him. And better yet, will he be? I'm sure he'll be back in time to cash in before his contract expires. However, with Punk versus Gunter, that leaves me with a lot of questions of what's really going to happen and what to expect, because I have absolutely no predictions for this, which makes this fun, because when you can't predict something, it's a lot more fun because you just get to sit back and watch and see what happens. So that's just my take on it. That being said, I am so glad to see Roman Reigns back. Thank you, social media, for not spoiling it with any rumors, although I try to stay away from people who like to spoil things too much because I don't like to ruin things for myself. And you just got to work your way around and not stay on the internet from Genesis to Revelation. But in the meantime, I'm your host, Dan Cody. This was a great, great night to me. Until next time, have a great night. That's all time I have for you, and I'll be back with another review on all things wrestling. See you guys next time.